Civil unrest and widespread disapproval of Donald Trump's reaction to it has further boosted Joe Biden, who now enjoys, on average, a lead of 7.9 points.
President Trump is behind in the polls. And
the end of summer, and so there is real pressure on this president to show that he can lead, needs to do something differently.
You give a direct answer, you will accept the election?
I have to see. Look, I have to see. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no, and I didn't last time either.
If we've learned anything from the Trump presidency, it's that our narcissist in chief will do anything to hold on to power.
Rioters, looters, and anarchists.
Precious dogs and ominous weapons loose on protesters. Tell police,
Please don't be too nice.
encourage armed supporters to liberate states from elected officials who disagree with you.
You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other. Very fine people on both sides.
The big question is no longer, will Donald Trump try to cheat? It's now become, how will Donald Trump try to cheat?
Over 2/3 of the US voters will be able to make their choice by either mail-in or absentee ballot in the 2020 election.
And with more Americans than ever expected to vote by mail due to coronavirus, it looks like he's zeroing in on his plan.
Suppress the votes of people who are likely to vote against you. Intimidate voters of color. Purge voter rolls.
The post office has been a disaster for many, many decades. They want to steal an election. That's all this is all about. They want to steal the election. 3 million ballots. It's impossible. They have no idea. Who's mailing them? Mostly Democrat states and Democrat governors. Well, supposing they don't mail them to Republican neighborhoods, that means they're not going to get them. So they're going to complain, and the election's going to be over, and then they're going to complain, and then they'll say, oh, well, we didn't get it, big deal. In the meantime, you might lose the election. This is the greatest scam in the history of politics, I think, and I'm talking about beyond our nation.
His latest strategy is to sabotage the United States Postal Service, courtesy of his hand-picked Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy.
Wow. Even if you mail your ballot in on time, 32 states won't count them if the post office gets them in late. So Trump has been on a crusade against mail-in ballots. And then he installed a close political ally who just happened to start slowing down the mail, which means that come November, a lot of votes that are supposed to make it by election day might not.
Where are these ballots going? Who's getting them? Who is not getting them? A little section that's Republican. Will they be stolen from mailboxes as they get put in by the mailmen? Will they be taken from the mailmen and the mailwomen? Will they be counterfeited, maybe by the millions, by foreign powers? It is a much easier thing for a foreign power. It's much easier for them to forge ballots and send them in. It's much easier for them to cheat.
President Carter says when mail is delivered, it comes late, and sometimes it's not theirs.
I just think the system fell apart, and I don't think they care about us.
In Baltimore, people waited 2 hours in hopes of getting their mail that never showed up.
Many aren't getting bills and paychecks on time, putting a strain on their homes and businesses.
Survived the COVID, survived everything. The only thing I didn't survive was the mail.
As a veteran myself, I get medication through the mail.
Mail might mean nothing to you, but it means everything to some people. That's how they get their medicine. It's how they communicate with family members in prison. And for many areas of the country, especially rural areas, the post office is the only way they can receive mail.
He's unfortunately turning into an authoritarian figure, and he doesn't like democracy so much anymore.
Are you a Trump supporter who needs to mail your electricity bill or an angry letter to CNN? Then you're in luck. Introducing the new President Trump commemorative stamps. Specifically designed by the U.S. Postal Service in a desperate attempt to earn his approval, each stamp commemorates one of our president's great achievements. Like the time President Trump defeated the sun in a staring contest, or the night that President Trump personally killed Osama bin Laden. And true collectors will cherish the stamp featuring President Trump's stunning cameo in the WAP video.
Mr. President, if we can ask you specifically, we heard yesterday your frustrations about how long it'll take to count the ballots here. Then why aren't you spending more energy to get the resources and the funding for the states that they want to be able to secure this election for all Americans?
Peter, you know nothing about my energy. Okay.
What are you doing specifically?
You know nothing about what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
Listen, you know nothing about what I do. Everyone knows mail-in ballots are a disaster. They think they're going to send hundreds of millions of ballots all over the United States and it's going to come out. You won't know the election result for weeks, months, maybe years after. Maybe you'll never know the election result, and that's what I'm concerned with. It'll be fixed, it'll be rigged. People ought to get smart. This is going to be the greatest election disaster in history. This will be catastrophic for our nation, and you'll see it. I'm always right about things like this. I guess I must be.
So look, if Trump and his cronies are trying to sabotage the post office, there's only one solution.
Congress must step in and do 4 things to protect the Postal Service and the integrity of mail-in voting before it's too late. Provide needed funding for the Postal Service in the next COVID-19 relief bill. Force DeJoy to repair all the damage he's already caused, returning the Postal Service back to full capacity. We investigate DeJoy. DeJoy still has at least a $30 million stake in his former company, XPO Logistics, which directly competes with the Postal Service, putting him in a position of profit directly from any loss of Postal Service customers. Passed legislation specifically blocking the Postal Service from instituting any changes that would slow mail delivery in the lead-up to November's election.
They want $25 billion for the post office. Now, they need that money in order to have the post office work so it can take all of these millions and millions of ballots.
What you believe in America, if you believe in democracy, you do not support a president who is literally trying to destroy the Postal Service because he does not want people in the middle of a pandemic to vote. People are nervous about this virus. Poll workers, people who work in the polling places, are nervous about the virus.
Absentee good, universal mail-in, very bad.
Stop the election. He can't win. We voted during the wars. We voted in the Great Depression. We voted when civil unrest swept the country. Americans died for our right to vote. Americans marched for our right to vote. Americans were beaten and brutalized for our right to vote.
What we've never seen before is a president say, I'm going to try to actively kneecap the Postal Service to encourage voting, and I will be explicit about the reason I'm doing it.
That Russia continues to try and interfere in our election process.
Well, I want no help from any country, and I haven't been given help from any country.
What is your message to Vladimir Putin about potentially interfering regardless of the candidate they support?
It was highly exaggerated.
And frankly, I think it's disgraceful. I've gone through it for a long time. I get it. I get the game better than anybody. And that's the way it is. Terrible thing to say. And they didn't say it about me. I will say this. Somebody leaked it in intelligence, but nobody ever told me that.
Can you state flatly that neither the Trump administration nor the Trump campaign has received any information from foreign groups, foreign nationals, about either Joe Biden or his family? And can you state flatly that neither the administration nor the campaign will accept foreign assistance?
Chris, that's a silly question. I mean, the
folks who have actually taken foreign assistance were the Clinton campaign 4 years ago. I mean, that entire shady dossier they put together was from a British spy. No, we're going to go and beat Joe Biden fair and square here, absolutely. But I think you should have asked the same question to any of his prospective running mates.
It's a yes or no question, Jason. Can you flatly state that the Trump campaign and the administration will not accept foreign assistance this time?
There is no foreign assistance that's happening in this campaign. I would ask you to make sure that the Democrats aren't going to do what they tried to pull 4 years ago, because that's exactly, they're going to try to find every possible way to cheat and steal this election, 100%.
Is Russia, as Robert Mueller alleged, attempting to influence the 2020 elections in the United States?
I'll tell you a secret. Yes, President Putin joked, we'll definitely intervene. It's a secret so that everybody can laugh, and so we'll go big. But don't tell anyone, please.
President Donald Trump has told aides that he'd like to hold an in-person meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin before the November election.
Rather than sitting down and meeting with Mr. Putin, what Trump would be better advised to do is to tell Putin not to try to sabotage American elections. I think.
There's a lot of fraudulent voting going on in this country.
The process is rigged. It's a rigged election.
It's a rigged system.
I've seen this before. I lived this before. It is unbelievable that there are Republican officials are trying to stop some people from voting.
They had levels of voting that if you ever agreed to it, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again.
If it looks like you'll be voted out anyway, try to postpone the election. If you're voted out of office notwithstanding all this, refuse to leave. Contest the election. Claim massive fraud. Say it's a conspiracy. Get your cult of political party to back your lies. Get your propaganda machine to repeat them. Get your judges and justices to support you. Get your generals to suppress any subsequent rebellion.
Even if the president doesn't refuse to leave, it remains to be seen how his followers are going to take this. They have already been primed to believe that if he loses, this was an unfair election, and that could easily lead to mass resistance, even to violence in the street.
Declare victory. Beware Donald Trump's authoritarian plans.
And it's moving us toward an authoritarian society. And everybody, not just progressives, moderates, conservatives, have got to come together and say to this president, sorry, Mr. President, heroes have fought and died to protect American democracy, and you are not going to destroy it.